Growing up, I felt like I was dealing with a lot of things that I didn't choose to happen and I didn't want to have to deal with. And as a really young child, I didn't know how to process. In kindergarten is when the sexual abuse started by my cousin. I remember being so fearful that if I told someone, then something bad would happen and it would break our family apart. And I didn't want people to blame me for that. So I just kept everything in, and I kept thinking if I just don't think about it and bury it, it'll get better with time. In about third grade, I found out that I had been adopted. My mom was married prior, and my biological dad signed over his rights when I was 6 months old. It made me feel like if my own dad didn't want me, then who would? I always would pinpoint and be like, if I can just achieve this, things will get better. So at that point in my life, it was once I graduate high school and I get out of this house, things will be better. In college, I started drinking. When I drank, it made me feel something. And for a long time, I wasn't feeling anything. And that led down a very dangerous road and ended up just making things a lot harder for myself. I felt like I was in control of my life and did things my way. I suffered from PTSD and depression and anxiety, and I was not handling things well, and it got to the point where I didn't even want to live. I attempted to take my own life in October of 2023, and by January had completely hit my rock bottom. I was really good at covering everything up, but somebody who I was close to, she sent me a text message and she was like, I really want you to watch this. And it ended up being the LCBC Christmas service, and I didn't watch it. And then the day after Christmas, my daughter was sick and I had to take her to the hospital. And the wait was so long, and I had already exhausted everything else on my phone to watch or scroll or whatever. And she texted me to ask me how my daughter was. And I saw the message that she had sent a couple days prior. So I watched it and I just started crying. And I didn't know what that would mean for me yet, but I kept thinking about it. Came to LCBC for the first time in January. My husband went with me and we took our kids, and it was a really eye-opening experience. It was the first time I'd ever been in that church environment, and I remember feeling like I was gonna stand out like a sore thumb. And I remember feeling like everyone was gonna know it was my first time there, kind of like the scarlet letter type thing, but it wasn't like that at all. For the first time ever, I felt like I wasn't alone. And I remember just crying and crying and crying during that service. I decided in that moment that I was giving my life to Jesus and I was done trying to do things my way. I always had been looking for that next thing, and that would fix it all. And it was never that. All I needed to do was turn to Jesus. And in that moment, I felt like this huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I still was dealing with everything that had happened in my life, but I felt like, okay, I can do this. I can get through this. And it's time that I start talking to Jesus about this and start praying through it. And once I started doing that, everything changed. I have that fulfillment that I've always longed for because I have a relationship with Jesus and I trust in him, and I know he loves me, and I know he's not judging me, and I know I'm not alone. I am Stephanie Fisher, and I am truly a life changed by Christ.